I want to put some organic things in the kitchen as well. So one thing I'm thinking about is these little herb pots, some herbs in them, maybe something like this. So basically I'm gonna make a simple pot, might even be terracotta or something like that, and then just add the herbs in. So let's start with profile for the pot. And give it a lathe modifier. This looks pretty good. Okay, I'm just gonna cap the hole since it welded the vertices for some reason. I think it's a glitch. Right, and collapse editable poly. Okay. Let's add a circle in the center for the ground. Just collapse it to editable poly as well. And move down here. Right. This is gonna be our pot. Let's freeze it. And now we just need to model some herbs. Now let's start with these spring onions or leeks or whatever they are. And these are the simplest ones. I'm just starting with a line. I'm going to give it a rectangular profile. Let's reduce the interpolation a bit. And collapse editable poly. Okay, I'm gonna scale the endpoint down to taper it like this. And delete the bottom polygons. Okay, let's give it turbo smooth. I think that's enough detail. And the UVW map. I'm gonna use a simple vertical planar map like this. Okay, collapse editable poly. And move the pivot point right down here to the starting point. Okay. And we're going to create a circle. And use the Forest Pro plugin to distribute these stems. Okay, so it's i2 software, Forest Pro. And pick your destination spline, in this case the circle. I'm just gonna use a custom object right here. Okay, looks like it needs material first. Let's start with the basic V-Ray material. Just set it to a green color like this, and that's fine for now. Okay, so back to Forest Pro. And use a custom object here. And what I want to do is I want to add some transforms here. Enable translation, rotation, and of course the scaling. I'm also going to increase the amount of scaling. So it goes from 60, maybe 130. I think it's a bit too dense. So go to distribution map and increase the density units. Right, that's good. Now I'm just going to collapse it to editable mesh, add the material by element, and randomly distribute it among 3 materials. Okay, so create a new multi-sub, keep the old material as submaterial, and set the number to 3. Okay, let's set up the first one. Let's give it some light green reflections. And set front of it maybe 3. It's gonna be the first material, copy it and paste in the second slot. I'm gonna change the color a bit. And again for the third slot, the same thing, just change the diffuse color. Okay, good. And collapse the editable mesh. Let's move it up here, scale it slightly smaller. And finally I want to try and taper dance slightly like this. Just scale the top part larger by using FFD 2x2. Alright. Okay. So like this. That's one part. Let's make something else. Okay. Let's make something with small leaves. First I'm gonna edit poly. This piece here. Scale the top smaller and turbo smooth. And then I'm gonna create a simple leaf. Collapse editable poly and cut in some additional edges. Zoom in and move this part out. Let's curl it like this. Let's try turbo smoothing. Alright. Let's rotate it vertically and reset the X form. Okay, and collapse to editable mesh. I'm gonna add the planar UVW map. Make sure it fits the leaf. Collapse again. And move the pivot point down here. Right, and now just make some copies. So let's make instances. Right. Let's make another stem here. And copy the leaves over. That's enough. Let's attach them together. Just collapse to editable mesh. Okay, that's one. Do the same thing for the other one. Let's create a new multi-sub. Okay, let's use just two materials here. One for the stem. And one for the leaves. Just a very simple material. I'm going to change it to very two-sided just to give it some translucency and keep the old material as sub. Okay, let's fix the IDs. Just set the leaves to 2. same thing for this here. Right. Let's move the pivot point down. That's fine. And again, let's use the first Pro plugin. I'm going to use the same circle, add a custom object, and pick one of these stems. Change the display to mesh. I'll reduce the density by increasing this value here. Let's try 2 by 2. And finally enable some random translations, rotations, and scale. It's a bit too dense, I think. Let's try 400. And add another custom object. And use the other stem. Maybe let's scale this one a bit smaller. Right. Okay, back to our density map. Let's try 300. I want a second type of stem to be more than the first type, so I'm gonna reduce the probability of the first type to 50%. Okay, let's fix the transforms now. Okay, I'm gonna reduce the translation slightly so they don't move around so much. Reduce the minimum scale value. And I'm going to try some different types of rotation. I'm going to add 20 by 20 on X and Y axes. Okay, that's fine. So let's get rid of that rotation I just added. It looks a bit weird. Alright, and that's the second type of herb. Copy of the pot. Actually, let's make an instance. Collapse this forest editable mesh and move in the pot. It's pretty good, quite natural, I think. Right, and I'm gonna also use the FFD 2x2 to scale that upper part a bit larger. And just to tweak the overall shape. Looks a bit nicer when it tapers out. It's a bit bit more rounded. Okay, that's nice. And maybe let's make one more. Well, let's use these same stems. I'm gonna clone some elements. I'm gonna bend it a bit with FFD modifier. Okay, let's collapse. And use a different material for this. Okay, let's make another one. I'm gonna make the leaves darker. Right, and less translucent. And again, using Forest Pro, pick the circle and replace it with a custom object. Right, I'm gonna reduce the global scale to maybe 50. Reduce the density a bit. And enable some random translations and transforms. Start with scale, rotation, and translation as well. And again, for scale, I want to change the minimum value to something like 50, just to make it a bit more random. And that's fine. Let's collapse the editable mesh, and that's our third herb pot. Okay, get rid of this. Copy the pot. And move these up. Yeah, I'm gonna try FFD to make the shape a bit more interesting. Alright, that's fine. Now we need to set up the materials for the pot and the ground. So I'm going to use a multi-sub, set the number to 2, and the first one will be terracotta. Actually, let's find a reference image. Okay, I like this one. I'm gonna copy it and I'm gonna create a texture. So paste in Photoshop. I'm gonna use this little region here. Copy it, create a new file and paste. Let's try and offset it horizontally. Okay, good. Using the clone stamp tool, let's get rid of the seam in the center. Let's try lower opacity, just to blend it like this. Okay, I'm gonna adjust the colors with curves a bit, just to give it a bit more punch. Slightly desaturate. And let's save it as a terracotta texture. So back to Max, set up a diffuse map. And there's the terracotta. Enable preview. And let's try it on the pot. Looks like the pot needs a texture map. Let's use a cylindrical one. Choose the correct axis. And we need to fix the tiling like this. Okay, perfect. And let's use the same map in the bump slot. Just don't want to waste time desaturating it, it's gonna work fine. Okay, good. And give it some very light reflections and blur them to 0.4. And let's try a Fresnel value of 3.5. And that's our terracotta. You can try increasing the roughness just to get a more flat look. And that's fine. And for the ground, we're going to use Vera material. It's simple dark brown color in the diffuse slot. First, we gotta make sure our circle has the correct material ID. Okay. And these are our herb pots. And I also want to put some bell peppers on the tabletop, something like in this reference image, or maybe some longer ones like this. Actually, I like this one. Let's try to model it in Max. First, I'm going to change my image to a less bright version by reducing the brightness, and just resave the image. Let's reset our 3D Max scene and set up the reference image in the front viewport. good. And let's try to make something like this. Let's start with a box. Actually, this object would probably be better started with a sphere. So let's start with a sphere. Rotate it like this. And let's reduce the segments quite a bit, maybe 12 or 9. Okay, let's try 10. And convert to editable poly. I'm going to move this lower part up to flatten the end. And just scale the vertices to adjust the shape. Let's add another edge loop here. And move this part down. Okay, good. Now let's select some edge loops and try to extrude them inwards. And slightly randomize the shape by scaling some of these edges. Okay, move some parts around, make it more random and less perfect. Alright, let's try adding turbo smooth and see how that looks. I think it's alright. Let's add the stem. I'm gonna use a simple line with a rectangular profile here. Let's convert to editable poly and adjust the shape. Okay, let's remove this diagonal and scale it down like this. And let's add one turbo smooth modifier iteration. Okay, good. I wanna insert this end poly a bit and extrude the resulting edge. Or the polygon. Okay, let's bevel it out a bit. good. Let's collapse to editable poly and extrude these polygons on the bottom. Extrude them and set the extrusion type to by polygon. Okay. And just scale them down like this. Let's try distorting this shape a bit. And adding another turbo smooth. Okay, let's add another edge loop here. Move it down and extrude inwards a bit. So that's going to be the bell pepper. And now we just need to create a material for it. So it looks pretty simple. Some shiny red. Okay, let's set it to bright red in the diffuse slot. Let's give it some reflections. Blur them to like 0.88 or so. Let's enable Fresnel. I'm gonna try 4 here. See how that looks. Okay, and increase the subdose to get a very smooth result. Okay, and I'm also gonna use a bump map with the noise in it. I'm gonna try fractal. Like we need some mapping. I'm just going to use a spherical map. Okay, so that's one level of bump. Mix it with speckle map. Let's mix it at 80 so the speckle map is more visible. Let's increase the speckle size. And reduce the whole thing to something like 2. Okay. And we're going to check that in our scene and see how it looks. And let's make a new V-Ray material for the stem. And looks like we need to create a striped map or something like that. Let's make a square new image. I'm going to copy this photograph here. I'm going to paste it in here. Just pick the color. Okay, good. And let's add some noise to it. Okay, fine. And I'm gonna blur it with the motion blur filter and set it to 90 degrees, like this. Let's make a new layer and brush on some darker greens. That's fine. Merge down, offset vertically. And use motion blur again. That's gonna be the stem texture. And if we desaturate it and bring up the contrast, it's gonna be the stem bump map. Okay, let's start with the diffuse. Okay. Well, we need to add some mapping. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a spline like this. So let's pick one of the side splines. Okay, create a shape. And for this editable poly, I'm going to select all these polygons. And I'm going to add a UEW map. Actually, I'm going to add unwrap UEW. Okay. First, let's get rid of this turbo smooth and try again. All right. Now I'll select these polys and use the spline map. I'm gonna pick the spline here. Okay. Let's try circular map. Okay, looks like we first need to adjust our spline. To the center of the object. And now we can try again. Okay, and that looks better. I'm gonna add it to poly. Select all the other polygons and just use a simple box map for that. Maybe even cylindrical. And just a simple box. it's not likely that it will be too visible anyways. Okay, let's add turbo smooth, and that's fine. And let's make the end lighter. And set the material ID for these polys to 2. Let's set up a multi-sub with 2 materials, and the second one should be maybe like that. Okay, and finally let's use the bump map. I'm just gonna adjust the shape a bit. And set up the bump map finally. Right. And some very weak reflections. Quite blurry. Maybe slightly green, like this. Okay, and that's the bell pepper. Group them together. Make some variations. Make a copy. Let's add FFD. Okay, first I'm going to collapse to editable mesh, and then add FFD 4x4. Make a skinnier pepper. Rotate it a bit. And I think 3 types will be enough. Bottom looks a bit weird on this one. Okay, good. And these are gonna be our bell peppers. And one final accessory we need for the kitchen is the wine bottles. We're gonna fill those wine racks up with some bottles. Let's look for a wine bottle. Right. Something simple. I'm gonna open up this image and save it just to get the correct profile. start again. Okay, let's set up the background image. And start with the line. Now let's smooth out the sharp corners. And on the bottom as well. And finally, let's add the light modifier. Alright, that's fine. And since the bottles themselves will not be seen too much, only the top parts, we don't need to create the labels and stuff like that. Okay, let's cap the holes. And we're going to use two material IDs for this object. Collapsed editable poly. And first, this one is going to be material ID 2, and the glass itself will be material ID 3. Sorry, 1. And let's make a material, so a multi-sub with maybe 3 IDs. And for the glass, I'm gonna use very dark brown, dark olive green. And for the diffuse, get some reflections, enable Fresnel, and that's fine. Since we haven't modeled the inside, I'm not gonna use any refractions at all, so this is gonna be the basic material. And for the top, just any dark diffuse colored reflective material will do. Just make sure you blur the glossiness like this. So sort of a metallic wrapper. Let's make a copy and make a different colored top. So let's set ID to 3. And copy this purple one. And let's change it to maybe maybe yellow. Looks like I made an instance there, my mistake. Okay, and that's fine. Two types of wine bottles should be enough. Alright, and that's it for the accessories.